Hey there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. McBrappin coming at you. Just looking around at the devastation. You can't really, well, I say devastation, I don't see any houses blown over or nothing. This is pretty good, but you can definitely tell where the water just completely overran the irrigation system. It looks like this was the river here, this side of the road, and it just stopped at the crest. But there were some houses back there where you could see that the mud line was well above 2 foot on their garage doors. So yeah, there was a pretty gnarly storm here. We had been getting thunderstorms every afternoon pretty regularly, which is, I guess, kind of common. I've only been here 2 years. So we're getting some thunderstorms, and normally the weather comes over the mountains because we're living right up against the Sierra Nevada mountains, and it misses us because of just the way the local environment is set up. Yeah. This storm came from the south and came right over the mountains that normally block us from the worst of the weather that comes up in this area. We were watching the storm, and I could tell that it was pretty brutal after watching it for maybe 5 minutes because the amount of lightning. This storm was so electrically active, it was unbelievable. I just sat there for a few minutes with my cameras, just snapping like 2 pictures a second, or maybe even 1 picture a second, and I've gotten 3 pictures of lightning bolts. None of them really great, like some professional photographer, but I'll flash those 3 right now, or at least a couple of them. Those are from, I was sitting in front of our patio, our sliding glass door in the back of the house. And that's take a picture down the valley of those lightning strikes. And just east of our house, there's a mountain. I would say, man, I want to say it's like 2 miles maybe as the crow flies. So we're watching it, and I'm thinking, boy, this storm is gnarly. But normally we'll see a storm in the south, and it'll go around us. It'll go around us to the east. But this storm came straight west, and it went from hey, this is interesting to holy shit, we're about ready to die. Basically, I would say it got dark and it started raining at our place maybe 10 minutes after those pictures were taken. The storm was moving around. They said 15 miles an hour with 60 mile an hour winds from the downdraft. I used to live in Phoenix, so I'm pretty familiar with gnarly rainstorms, and this was nothing short of a monsoon. This storm had 3 different hail events within 10 minutes. So by that time, after the last hail event, I went to look out the front door, or the garage, and the water had filled up the drains on either side of the road. It wasn't to the sidewalk yet, so I went inside the house and I told my family, hey, listen, you guys need to get your shoes on. It's not bad yet, but at any moment this could turn into a flash flood. And then I went back out in the garage to watch how the storm reacted. Well, from going inside and telling them that, Jesus, well, you could tell where this flooded out, huh? Look at this freaking wash. From the time of me telling them and then going back out into the garage to look, the water had crested the sidewalk. At which point I knew this was serious business, because we're talking like 45 seconds max, and this had already started to get crazy. So I ran back inside, and I look, and my family's, they're sitting around. And I'm like, listen, you bastards, get your shit together, get out in the garage, we're leaving now. I throw a couple things in the back of the truck, essential stuff, but I'm talking less than a minute I've had to grab the stuff and throw it in the back. I run back inside to grab the bug out bag, and my family is stacking boxes in a closet. Kids are still running around, no shoes on, and they're acting like nothing is wrong. At this point is when I cracked. My attitude became poor and uncalm. And I scream at them, we need to go now. And I mean, when I say I screamed, like, it scared my kids. I grabbed both my daughters, I pick up my youngest because she's pick-upable, and I grab my my other daughter's hand, and I run to the garage, and I'm screaming the whole way, now, now, now. I'm not kidding. So by the time we get into the garage, the water's already starting to come underneath the door of the garage. So I'm running to the garage screaming, now, 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 like a drill sergeant, carrying my youngest daughter with my oldest daughter. I think that was the point where they understood I was serious, but not exactly how serious I was. Because they're still trying to put their shoes on. We are past that moment. If you want shoes, grab them. Take them in the truck with you. So I throw my daughters in the truck. I'm pulling out as my wife is getting in the passenger side. Boy, you could tell, man, there was a lot of water. So where was I? Everybody's in. I jack up the suspension before we even get out in the driveway. So that's about like 13 to 14 inches of ground clearance. And as soon as I get into my nose drops down, the nose of the truck drops down the sidewalk into the road, I know that I've made a mistake, because the water is over the front of the hood at this angle. Luckily, when I evened it out, it wasn't so bad. There is kind of a large angle of my driveway to the road. So anyway, we get the nose into the road and starts to level out, and then I feel my traction control going nuts. And that's when the front of the truck starts hopping because the water was flowing down the road. And so it was pushing the front of the truck with it. I was freaked out. I didn't panic because I knew that, first of all, I'm driving. Second of all, my entire family's life depends on me making correct decisions in these situations. And so I give it some gas, and the traction control just spins the truck right with the flow of water. It's exactly where I tried to put it. So yeah, I get it straightened out into the road. And then, as I would later find out from the damage on our street, my house was the least damaged of the damaged houses, meaning that my house was the highest by comparison to the rest of the damaged houses, which means that the road must go downhill. So we're driving down the road now. The water is well above the bottom of the door seams. When I first started going, the water came over the hood, so I created a bow wave, and I'm following my bow wave, but unfortunately the water is getting deeper as we're going. And at one point, I had to create a second bow wave, and that one was just below my hood line, and so I had to drive up on the sidewalk. I made a mistake. I wasn't driving in the crown of the road. At the top of the crown of the road, I was... for whatever reason, my idea at the time was that there's manholes in the middle, and I didn't want to hit anything in the middle, and that the flow was stronger in the middle. What didn't occur to me is that the middle comprised the entire road because, wow, look at this, because the water was flowing through houses on either side at this point. As I'm trying to get the right side of the truck up onto the sidewalk to make sure that the air vent on the passenger side stays out of the water. At one point, I had to come down off the sidewalk because there was a whirlpool directly in front of the truck, and it turns out that that whirlpool was from a manhole cover that had floated away, because our little development just has these plastic or whatever they are. Anyway, they're not full-on manhole covers. We'll talk about those more in a minute. So I actually had to pull off the sidewalk back into the road to avoid this whirlpool. And then luckily, about that time is when I saw the crown of the road emerge from the water, because, you know, obviously the road isn't flat. This is when I made the realization, oh crap, if I was on the crown of the road, I probably wouldn't have had any trouble with neither the whirlpools nor the depth of the water. But it was almost over, so I got back on the crown of the road. I just can't explain the elation of being on dry road. My truck is still running. My family is safe and freaking terrified. This was the first opportunity I had to even look at my family. since we got in the truck. And I don't know, man, this might have been a minute, maybe 2 minutes of sheer terror for all of us, for all those involved. But yeah, the elation at being out of it, and I could looked over and my wife was white. Now she's Asian, so that's quite a feat. But she was clearly scared to the end of her wits. So when I say we made it out, I don't mean the road was dry. I mean that the water was 2 or 3 inches deep. Right, workable, tolerable, not a problem. So yeah, we get out onto the main road, which goes up a pretty steep hill, and at the top of the hill there's a Target. So this was my goal all the time, get the family to Target. They have generators, they're at the top of the freaking hill. They're actually the highest point to which we can go without having to go through another valley. So that's the goal, get the Target, get the Target, get the Target. So I'm driving up the regular paved road. This is the county road now, and it's pretty well maintained. It's got a turning lane for whatever reason and 2 lanes on either side. And as we're going up the hill, the water is flowing intensely down this road. And I see this like fountain basically, and I'm like, what the hell is that? As we get closer, we see a manhole cover laying on the side of the road, and where that manhole cover should have been is a 3-foot pillar of water just pouring out of the drainage system, which had clearly just catastrophic failure of the drainage system. As we make our way towards the top, there's more of this, more manhole covers. There's a 6-inch flow across the road, which pushed us a little bit. Good thing my LR4 weighs 3 tons, or else I think we would have been in trouble. If I had big old floaty tires and on a Wrangler, I'm pretty sure it would have been doom. But it wasn't doom. It was epic, and it gave me the opportunity to tell a pretty awesome story. Well, that does it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. McBrappin' out.